Hello, and welcome to another episode of Shampoo and Booze. This is episode number 18 at shampooandbooze.com.
Okay. If you are listening to us, probably you know us from our other podcast, which is about selling things on eBay.
Yeah.
Or scavenging.
Fascinating.
In general. Yep. So if you're from there, welcome. We're talking about something else here.
What are we talking about? Do you want to tell us?
Yep, for those of you who don't really know us very well. So we also run a vacation rental on Airbnb.
Yes.
Like a lot of people, we've kind of seen that it makes sense, especially if you live in like a rural area or in an area where you can buy homes for, relatively cheap and fix them up, that we found that that's what we're doing.
In a place that happens to be a vacation spot. That helps.
So we bought one, fixed it up. It's been a year now that we've been renting it on Airbnb.
Yep.
It's done very well for us. We're very happy. So well that we just bought a second house that we're now fixing up to then be our second rental.
Yes.
Two legs of a chair, so we can't quite sit in the chair yet.
Two legs of a chair. Yes.
So anyway, each week we try and just kind of keep up for ourselves, describe the trials and tribulations of our process of trying to figure out how to run a rental business.
And some people might like to listen to us talk about it.
That's right. Last week we interviewed Anne-Marie.
She's in Boulder, beautiful Boulder, Colorado.
Yep, and that's very cool. We always like to, when we sell things online and also when we rent, we love to talk to other people doing the same thing. And, basically we're just learning from them about, what worked for them, what didn't work, trying to learn from people's experiences.
I mean, we've learned everything we know from other people, essentially, so go check out that interview if you haven't heard it already. It was very fun to talk to her.
I think the thing I learned from her is, so they're starting to actually rent their entire home, the one they live in, when they go on vacation. And
I would love to do that.
They're making some good money, and it's almost like she says she's setting the price so high where it's almost like if someone wants to rent for a week, they just get paid to take a vacation. Yeah. So she's like, hey, if people want to pay us that much, we'll just go a couple hours away and kind of enjoy ourselves.
Well, she was saying because her youngest daughter is like almost going to college in a couple years. Right. So she said when that happens that they will just put it on and be like, if we're flexible enough, we can just, go somewhere nearby on a mini vacation and rent the house out,
I mean, we've thought about that for our house. One thing is, I think the problem with a lot of people's houses, and maybe some people aren't embarrassed by this, I mean, we just have all of our stuff in our house.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're tidy people, but, we run a business from home, so we have stuff. Although we're building a storage building out back, and so... the idea would be is that once we have a storage building, we get all of our stuff in there. And then our house, we could rent it.
So this is my question, though, about renting our house. Like, say we were gone for a month.
Right.
And a few people wanted to rent it, like, by the week or something. How would we do the cleaning? Would we just be like, we'd get our friend who does the other Airbnb to clean it? Because, like, how do you do the, like, changeover?
Well, it sounds like you would have to find, like, you could only maybe have one person rent.
Like,
so either they're just going to rent for part of the time if you're gone or rent the whole time.
That's true. And make that clear in the listing. We're gone from here. Because actually people on Airbnb, when we've rented apartments, they're like, we're gone from this date to this date. It's available then.
Yeah, the only other problem is, I mean, that's why we have actual vacation rentals. Or, rental. I mean, it's really nice. It's got central AC and heat. I mean, it's like a beautiful home.
Yeah.
It's almost nicer than our own house. Like our own house, we don't have AC.
Right.
So I think that might be one problem. The other thing is we have a couple cats. So
a couple. We have 3 cats.
We have several cats. Yeah. We have 3 cats. So
yeah, we'd be like, you have to feed our cats. Well, I guess, but think about it this way. If we were going away during peak season and someone's like, we're having like, a 2-week long vacation and you rent it to them for a good price, compared to, a cabin, like we know the cabin prices, so you give them a discount and you're basically getting paid to have like cat sitters, you know?
It's true.
It's something to think about in the future.
Yeah.
When we travel for a long amount of time. But that was the original, like, premise of Airbnb, was stuff like that, or, you know, renting out a spare room in your
It seemed like the premise was more, because it was, you know, built by these younger guys, you know, like, it was more about, like, couch...
It was, yeah.
A surfing, you know,
it was an
like...
alternative to couch surfing.
Like, when I was younger, it'd be like, I don't want to stay in, like, a hotel. I don't need a hotel. I just want to sleep on someone's couch.
I want to crash, yeah.
Or give me an extra room. I'll pay you $50. You know, that kind of
That's
idea.
what it was, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And actually, the first time I heard of Airbnb was in 2009. My sister lives in Boston, and they had a spare bedroom at the time. And they were like, we think we can make more money on Airbnb. And I'm like, I don't know what that is, but I'm guessing I know what it is. You know, short-term rentals rather than long-term. She actually didn't, it's really funny. She didn't end up doing it because they found a roommate. But then we jumped on it. We were like, we could do it. So it's kind of
And actually,
funny.
we use Airbnb quite a bit when we travel.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really all we use if we're booking our own travel.
Right.
Mainly because it's often a better deal, but also because we like to have space. And actually, so we actually are the ones who don't do it like, I guess, Airbnb started. We don't like to rent a room in someone's home.
Yeah.
We want our space.
I want a whole apartment.
I want people not to be there.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So,
but I love that that's an option. That they're like,
right.
It's a checkbox. You're like, you want your own space, and that's
and
fine.
like we just, you know, so we're going to the Pacific Northwest in late April and all of May, so we'll be gone for about a month. And we actually rented a place in Bend, and we rented a whole
house, a little bungalow. Oh my god, it's so cute.
I think they built like a grandmother's house behind their house.
Oh, really?
No. It's an actual house.
Yeah, it's an actual, because the picture's from the front of the road.
It's like across from, and it's cheap. It was like $70 a night for a whole house.
But that's the beautiful thing about a place like Bend.
Right.
Like, it reminds me of like what Austin used to be or Portland used to be, where it's much smaller. I mean, it's tiny, but it's one of those places where it's out of the way, but it's become a cool place, but it's still cheap enough that you're like, let's go stay there. It sounds cool, you know?
Yeah.
I'm excited about that. That should be fun. Right now we're looking for a place in Bellingham because our job is in Bellingham, Washington. So we're looking for a cheap enough place because we're there for like 5 or 6 nights. So something I did this week was our local Chamber of Commerce did this wedding forum. Kind of like a networking event for everyone who's involved in weddings. Like, we live in a really small county, so the amount of people involved in weddings fits in one room.
I mean, but I think we have to be very clear, though. We live in a county outside of D.C.
Yes.
So people want to come and have weddings out in the country.
Right.
And the prices here are much, much cheaper than if someone were to do a wedding in DC.
It's a fraction of the cost.
And, you know, there's this whole thing.
It's beautiful.
I mean, we don't know a lot about weddings, but the stuff we do know, I mean, there's this whole thing about, you know, do you want to do it on a farm with the
mountains in the background? Yeah. And there are several venues that have that. But so what's great about the wedding venues is it's like a symbiotic relationship, obviously, between accommodations and wedding venues.
And caterers and wedding planners.
And photographers and florists and all those people. Like, everyone in our... though all those types of people want to get in on the industry. They have to, because they need those services. So what's interesting is I would love to count this. I think we get at least 40% of our bookings are people either attending a wedding or having their own wedding. You think it's less?
I'd be surprised if it's that high.
40%?
Maybe in the summertime, if you just said the summertime, maybe 40%.
Okay.
But I feel we still get a lot of like...
You know what I should do? This is what I should do. I should go back and look at all the messages on Airbnb last year and count how many people it was.
It's still a nice... I mean, again, it's like you said, it's nice to be part of that.
Yes.
It's network.
Right.
Where, you know, we have a place that isn't like a little hunting cabin that people are just coming to go on the river. We have a place where people could also, it's nice enough.
Yeah.
A bride wants to come and have a place to dress
get ready.
And get ready, you know.
Well, and we've had those people. We've had people spend their wedding night there. We've had people do their honeymoon after the wedding in the area. So we've even had people ask us to have their wedding. So this is something we've been talking about
and
a
we've
lot.
Been thinking about that because we have 2 acres, a nice large brick home. And I could see a wedding. I think for us, though, it's not a venue.
Right.
And so we're always thinking, like, well, how many people could actually fit, like around the house?
Yeah.
And, we have 1.5 bathrooms, like 25 people, like,
and parking, like, how do we deal with that?
I mean, they just park in the grass. But yeah, I mean, and then like they want to have like a little event afterwards where they're serving food, so they're having a caterer, like,
and a tent, and basically we're trying to figure out how the logistics, and like the whole point is when you have a venue, you let those people, the wedding planner or the family or whatever, figure out those logistics, but you have to give them the limitations of the venue.
I think for us, we're thinking, well, how much could we charge for a wedding of 30 people and make enough money to where then we would have enough to then, clean, because to clean after all those people
is crazy,
wear and tear and all that. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just
question.
Basically like...
And also, do people do weddings of 30 people?
I don't know.
That's the other thing. We'd hate to get into like a rabbit hole where you agree on a small wedding and suddenly
it's 75
you show
people.
Up and there's 80 people.
Yeah. I think also we're just trying to figure out, like, yes, is there a market for it? And are there other venues that provide that anyway? Or are the other venues like, no, it costs this much no matter how many people are coming. And so can we provide a cheaper place for a smaller amount of people? Right. And do we want to do it? I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's just something we're thinking about.
But, just to wrap this up, it is interesting to see, we're a city people. Like, I grew up in a city, but we live in the country now.
Yeah.
And I love it,
Yeah.
But it's interesting being in a rural community where traditionally it's been farming and manufacturing.
Yeah.
And, in the last 30 years, manufacturing especially
is gone.
Is almost gone.
Yeah.
There's a couple of small places that hire, 100 people.
Yeah,
but,
that's it.
The big plant that, they had 3,000 people on staff at one time. There was a Wrangler plant.
Yeah,
there.
It was a Wrangler.
And once that folded in the 90s, I mean, that just hollowed out the town. So it's interesting seeing something like the wedding business.
Yeah.
Isn't hiring as many people as a manufacturing. But now you have this network of little small businesses. And what's interesting too is that a lot of them are run by women.
Yes.
And it's interesting seeing like kind of the balance of power change within a county from a traditionally kind of male-oriented
farming
business community.
Exactly.
And so in our county, there's still farming, so that's good.
There's a lot of farming.
It's still a strong thing, but it's interesting seeing it's wedding business. And
it's an interesting offshoot of tourism. Weddings and tourism, and. I think it's interesting because I've never been involved in that. I mean, tourism's new for us as a business, so it's interesting to be like getting into that part of it too and thinking about it because it's new for us to think about. Okay. So we were at the other house, the new house that's being gutted, and our stonemason tile contractor guy, he kind of does everything, but he focuses on tile and stone. Right.
This is our second rental that we bought. We gutted.
Yeah.
And now we're fixing up.
Yeah.
So we had him come over.
Yeah, we have a couple projects we want him to do, and we're like just shooting ideas off, thinking about what to do. And it's funny, he had some cool ideas of stuff. One idea we had been like dabbling with anyway, the upstairs is like a loft, like it's just an open loft bedroom type thing. And when we were standing up there, he was like, why not just extend the floor over and make this a whole like master suite, like an actual upstairs? And we've been kind of thinking of that and not knowing if that would be possible. And he's like, you could totally do it.
Honestly, I had never even thought about it.
Oh, really? I had thought about it, but I just didn't know logistically how it could happen.
And and we were talking about this. This is a nice thing. This is our third house that we've remodeled, and we have kind of like a a core group of people
that we work
that
with.
we get to work with. And it's nice having its relationship with these guys.
Yeah.
Because they kind of know our tastes.
Right.
And there's a comfortability between us.
Yeah.
And he was willing to come over, at no cost.
Right.
And just like, let's just think about what's possible.
Right.
And it's nice to have people.
Well, because he knows we're about to launch into like many weeks of projects.
Right.
So.
But it's so it's good. He gives us advice and we trust him, and it's nice. And
that was a good idea.
Yeah.
It was a great idea. The second idea. So the deal with the house is this. The reason the house is cool is it's up kind of a steep hill. And that's where you get the view of the mountains. If you were just down right by the road, you wouldn't see the mountains at all. You have this like panoramic view of the mountains. But the problem is you have to go up like 40 steps up this hill. Right.
They didn't build, this is built in the 1970s, early 70s. And so I guess it was built more of just like a weekend.
Yeah, it's just a hunting cabin.
And so they didn't build a driveway up to the house.
I mean, basically you park right off the road on this like gravel driveway thing.
And to me, it's not a deal breaker. That's why we bought the house.
Right.
But our friend said, well, because we own the lot and it's next to it. And he was like, well, why don't you guys just build a long driveway
up the
kind
hill,
of coming from the other lot, so it's not just straight up, and then build a little parking area. And it's it's interesting.
It's an interesting idea because it gives much easier access to the house, obviously, because you like come right up to the house. Although getting a paved driveway and having someone like dig excavate.
But it sounds like a big deal. We don't know. So what we're gonna do is we made contact. We're gonna call somebody, and this person to come and give us advice and get a quote. And that's the way it works. You know?
When he said that, I was like, oh, I want a driveway so bad.
But those of you that kind of been following this story about us first buying this house in October and thinking of what we're gonna do. I mean, this is a good example of like, I don't know. I think it's kind of our personality. It's like, now's the time to do these things. I mean, if we're going to do these big projects, I want to do it now. And then get it into a rental mode, and then just it's nonstop rental. I don't want to say, oh, one day we'll do this thing.
Right.
I'd rather do it now while things are gutted and everything else.
And I think another part of it, too, is us not being afraid to change our original plans. Look, my original plan when we bought this was like DIY, paint the cabinets. I don't know why I thought that was possible. But when you're trying to do a high-end rental, you have to do the details. Like, you have to pull that horrible cabinet set that's rotting into the ground. Or else you're crazy not to do that. I mean, you have to do that.
And plus, we, always balance of what we think we can get for the place. So if we don't do certain work, then we could probably charge this. If we do the work we want, we can probably charge X amount. And so, if we spend $20,000 doing this extra stuff, we'll make it back in half a year,
Right, exactly.
And so that's our thing.
I think part of it too is just not being afraid to spend the money and the time.
Yeah.
You just have to be like, this is going to make the house a million times better.
I mean, it seems like, we're new to all this, but we like running businesses, and it seems like the rule of thumb is invest in the business.
Yes.
So if you aren't, we're willing to put, a year of rental income into renovating this place, knowing that it's going to be a 20-year business after that.
Right, exactly. It's not like, well, we might have this for 5 years. It's like, this is it.
And so that's how we're seeing this business is, this is like going to be a core part of our income. And so I'm like 78 years old, and so I still got this place, renting the place. Seriously, like that's
you're hobbling up with a cane.
Sure. Well,
wait a second. My parents are 70. That's
now that we're going to have this fancy driveway. So
that's right. You won't have to hobble up the stairs. So last night we checked in 5 ladies into our farmhouse for like a girls' weekend. They're from DC. They were so cute. They were like, we had to get out of the city.
Well, I mean, let's set this up. So about a week ago, the people that were supposed to come for this weekend canceled on us.
Which I don't think we've ever had someone cancel.
We've never had a cancellation. It was through Airbnb, and a woman just said that they were having a problem.
Like a family emergency type thing.
And so she canceled. But the great thing is that we still got some money because she canceled too soon.
Right, because of our policy.
So we were just like, well, we probably won't book. I lowered the price for the weekend. Because
just in case.
Close.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, these is women that then booked 3 days before they came.
Yeah.
Said that they were booked somewhere else. That renter canceled on them.
Right, their person canceled on them.
And so she found us.
Yeah, it was really funny because we thought about it too when we were leaving last night. We were like, how come we were able to get them? And we're like, oh yeah, we had a cancellation and they got canceled on. So it all like came together. It was kind of funny. But the most interesting part about it was when we were talking to them about who they were renting from. It was a cabin, just a hunting cabin thing. They said that this person, and this is what we always talk about, wanted them to bring all their own linens, bring their own toilet paper, was super strict about when they could check out, just was not like budging at all. And they were just like, this is crazy.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing is they said it's a woman who had booked it said that she booked it and then she got all these rules.
Oh, all the rules after.
Those rules were not transparent to begin with, and then so Ryan, because she's good at sleuthing, was able to find this place, and we saw that it's a new rental. They've only had one group of people.
They're like a
there.
month old, yeah.
Right, and so they're just new to it all, and it just seems like an old school way, and to me, it always reeks of someone that just does not understand the current way that people expect. Like, it's much more old school, this idea of like, you're going to get raw mattresses without any sheets.
Oh my God. No toilet paper.
Right. There won't be any soap. There won't be any coffee filters,
I mean, and it's so funny because they have the same reaction we had when we found out that places did that, where they were like, it's unheard of anywhere else in the world that you would do this, or
these days.
These days, it's like we're trying to think of it like it is like a hotel.
I think it's just just like an older generation kind of thing. So maybe this is what happened in the 60s, 70s, 80s. I don't know, where you would rent like a cabin, and it would have nothing in it.
It's just a bare.
Like I imagine the scene in the movie where like the mom walks in and she's like blowing dust off the table.
That's
that kind
exactly
of thing.
what's happening.
And then she brings her box of like kitchen gear with all the sheets, and
it's just
like that's just a different experience. But the good thing is people can still do that. Like if you're a renter, if you're an owner, you can still rent homes that way. The problem with this is that owner was not transparent with the expectation, and the woman that was trying to rent it was very upset because
I mean, why you should have the choice to rent a place like that if that's what you want up front.
Like they're coming for just 2 nights and it starts sounding like work. Like, God,
it's too much work.
I have to load up the whole back of the car with just like stuff to stay for 2 nights.
Yeah. So we're glad that they booked with us, because I think they were like, this is so much nicer, which is the exact reaction I want,
So last year was our first year starting to rent, and we started in March.
Yeah.
So we're just finishing up a 1-year anniversary.
Yeah.
So the cool thing is, so at the end of February, this is our first time trying to rent in February.
Right.
It's been a great month.
Yep.
We've actually had every weekend booked, and even some people during the week, so it was good. The good thing is that we're already starting to get people to book for the springtime and summer and even fall. So we actually booked someone for 5 nights during the week in April.
Yep.
We just today booked someone for 8 nights in October, which is which is great. I mean, that's
8 nights is the best.
That's like $2,000. Yeah, you know, and it's just a couple and their dog. I mean,
like you couldn't ask for anyone better. But it's funny when people book that far in advance. I just always wonder, like, how do they know? But I think it's like they're picking their vacation days, and they're like, these are my vacation days. This is when we're coming out.
I think we're like that. I mean, we just talked about we're going to Bend, Oregon in May, and we booked that
a while ago,
3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
you know, I mean,
that's true.
You know, we're the kind of people where once we know we're going to be somewhere, I want to know I have a place.
Exactly.
And I think with Airbnb, it's definitely about planning ahead, because the good places are going to get snatched up. It's not like when you stay at a hotel and they have like 300 rooms, like you can almost guarantee, like, I don't have to book ahead of time.
Yeah, you'll get
like,
it.
I'll show up and go.
Yeah.
But it's great. So actually March, which, you know, is coming up soon here, I mean, we have 14 nights booked. Our goal is always 20 nights.
Right.
But, you know,
I think people are going to do stuff last minute. Yeah. I think that's how it goes.
But hopefully more. I love going into a month kind of already booked up.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel good too, because this is our experiment of raising our rates on the weekends, and so far people haven't balked, you know.
It's $249 for Friday and $249 for Saturday.
So, you know, if people are just booking on weekends, you know, if we're making like, you know,
$480,
almost $486 after Airbnb takes their fees out,
which is great, you know.
So we're happy.
So we do not have any voicemail calls this week, but you can call our voicemail line. The phone number is 540-407-8486, and you have 3 minutes to leave a question or a comment, and we will play it on the podcast.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for joining us today. And if you want to hear our other podcasts, it would be at scavengerlife.com.
So check out the blog. This is where we have the comments and links of stuff we discussed on the show. It's shampooandbooze.com. You can leave a question or a comment on the voicemail line. Again, the number is 540-407-8486. We post an episode every Sunday night or Monday morning. You can subscribe to us through iTunes or YouTube, so you'll always get the latest episode. And if you're interested in actually renting our vacation farmhouse in the beautiful Shenandoah Valley,
or just if you want to check out the pictures to see what we're talking about.
Right. It is on the top navigation bar, and it says, Our Rental. Okay, thanks. Bye.